This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com.
And by Ting.com. Head over to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 27, Episode 6. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning.
I'm going to tell folks about the big show. Are you ready?
I am ready. I've been looking forward to it all week.
All right, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, we'll tell you how to get all of the media that's sitting on your Linux box's hard drive out to all of the different devices in your house. Maybe that's a tablet, or maybe that's a Boxy Box, or maybe that's a Raspberry Pi, a Roku, your mobile device, an iPad even. That's right. We're going to even be friendly to our cousins across the pond, or maybe in another galaxy.
Another galaxy.
That, yeah.
I'm going to go with galaxy.
And then the news segment, we've got some good news and bad news for video editing on Linux, as well as a look at Red Hat's state. And then in the /Etsy, we're going to give a flash review of Zorin OS and announce a new Linux, not a contest, but let's say a Linux desktop porn celebration.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as dirty as it sounds.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
But first, Matt, it's our picks.
Ooh,
and our runs Linux this week is just one of the coolest and potentially dangerous things I've ever heard of. It's called
awesome.
Instant Server, and it runs Linux. What?
Whoa.
What? That's right. You click this button right here on instantserver.io, and you get a free Ubuntu 13.04 64-bit instance with 8 gigabytes of storage, and you can run it for up to 35 minutes for totally free, and then it self-destroys.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So if you just want to do something
cool.
just as a test from a remote box or something like that, you log into this instantserver.io and you create the machine. You use it for, the 35 minutes that you get. And then if you really create something amazing, they actually do have pricing plans where you can pay $4 to keep it for 24 hours. You can 2 days, up to even all the way up to 30 days.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I could see. I think it'd be kind of fun to just test stuff out, tweak things, just kind of mess around.
I think that's pretty cool. Chat room says 40 minutes, but here on their page they say 35 minutes. Maybe it's in flux. But I found this thanks to Crash Benedict.
That's cool. I like that. That's a neat idea.
Chat room.
It'd be fun.
And then I have a second Runs Linux because I love when the audience submits their Runs Linux. This one came from Rawzone. I think he got it in another subreddit, but he submitted it to the Linux Action Show subreddit.
Hey, we get it. We share it.
That's right. Barcelona buses run Linux. And
Score.
Not just any Linux. Look at that right
Slacks.
there. If you watch, you see there's Slacks booting up, and there's actually a Slacks.
Oh, that's awesome. They've got the little loader.
It's loading KDE. It's loading an old KDE.
That's cool.
That looks like the 3 generation, maybe. See that? Look at that old K.
Yeah, early 3s, maybe. Yeah, I'd say early. Yeah, maybe even latter 3. No, I'd say mid to early.
Yeah, that's old. That's old looking.
Old school.
Yeah, pretty funny. So those are those buses are way better than our buses.
It's just no kidding. Well, they run Slacks. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah, our buses don't. I don't even know if our buses even have screens?
Ours run on alcohol and dysfunction, I think. So I
think you're probably right.
Yeah. So we don't run Slacks on our buses.
No, we run misery.
Yeah.
But thanks for submitting that. It's good to see. You never know what distro you're going to see in the wild. You never do.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we have links to both those, the instantserver.io and the Slacks picks, if you would like. All right, man, we got a huge show to get into. So before we get to the rest of our picks this week, including a fantastic Android pick and a very useful desktop pick for you night owls on the Linux desktop.
Oh, yeah.
But first, I want to say good morning to the fine folks over at GoDaddy.
Good morning.
GoDaddy.com. I was chatting with Danica last night, actually.
Having a heart-to-heart, right?
I said, Danica, we usually talk on Saturdays.
Sure.
And I said, Danica, look. This Linux 249 code is outrageously great. Look, a .com for $2.49. I cannot go on the air tomorrow morning and tell the folks Linux 249 is gone. I said, Danica, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be some sort of kind of backlash. People are eating up these .coms for $2.49. She said, Chris, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend Linux 249 for another week, maybe more. She's going to see how you guys respond. So if you keep using the code Linux 249, Danica may extend it for even longer. Help out the community at whole and get a .com for $2.49. And if you want something else, maybe you're getting a whole bunch of stuff when you're over at GoDaddy.com, use the code 35OFF2. 35OFF2 will get you anything in your shopping cart, 35% off if it's a new order.
Oh, see, that's when you just go bulk. Boom.
Boom. I just before the show, took advantage of these offerings to save myself like $50.
Yeah, it was a chunk of change.
It was awesome. Yeah, so thank you everybody who supports our sponsors. Gives me a chance to talk to Danica Patrick on Saturday nights on our cell phones. Using Skype last night.
Using
on the phone.
Skype?
Yep,
Oh, right
yep.
on.
Oh,
Right
Danica's
on.
becoming big on Skype, Matt.
That's cool.
Oh, you bet. And thanks to GoDaddy for their longtime sponsorship of the Linux Action Show. And thanks to you guys for supporting us by visiting our sponsors and using those codes. Don't forget, we have all of these listed in our show notes. And just by clicking the links in our show notes, also just lets GoDaddy know that you appreciate them supporting the show and that you're paying attention.
That's right. You guys make it happen.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, Matt, you ready for some great picks?
Let's rock it.
This one I kind of went on a theme.
Okay.
I was up late this last week, actually, just about every night.
Yeah,
I was working really late. And one of the things that I have a lot of monitors in my office, and it's just at a certain point at 9, 10 o'clock at night, they're just way, 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 way too bright.
Right. I felt that myself.
It's like
actually.
harsh on the eyes, right?
Right.
And even like I was reading something on my phone, and I'm like, oh, geez.
Right. You're having to constantly try and find, and then you're messing with your settings. And that
Oh,
never
yeah.
works.
It's a pain in the
Yeah.
butt. So I want to give you an Android app pick that I found. It's totally free. It's brand new, up-and-coming app. It's still in the early days. So
Okay.
I want to make this
So
disclaimer.
we'll call it beta.
Yeah. Vils or Vilize, I don't know. What do you
I
think?
would call it
Vils?
Velis.
It's an auto brightness application, and it's pretty fancy. If your phone has a built-in light sensor, it'll dynamically adjust the brightness of your screen based on the light sensor.
Oh,
if
no
your
kidding.
phone doesn't have a light sensor, it will ask you, and it doesn't turn on by default, but
Right.
it will ask you, do you want me to use your camera? And then it'll actually sample the light with
as a
your
light
camera.
sensor, essentially. Oh, no, that's interesting.
What is really cool because every now and then these Android apps take it up a notch, and I there's a little something that I just enjoy a little more, and one of those is that it actually, and it's going to be a little hard probably for you guys to see, but you can't quite see it. It actually keeps a graph log of your brightness history.
So basically, what we're seeing behind us is
Yeah.
very similar to what. Okay.
So you get to see kind of like a historic graph of the brightness of the environment that you've been in.
Oh, that's
This might,
awesome.
if you keep your phone in your pocket a lot, I don't know if this is going to be thrown off a little bit, but
Sure.
it can
Yeah.
take in a lot of different features, including your proximity sensor and things like that. But if you're a fan of one of my previous app picks, there is a really great app called Locale, where you can have actions execute based on your location or conditions like joining a Wi-Fi network or
right.
things like that. Well, this has Locale plugin support, so I can actually say,
Oh, nice.
yeah, when I'm at home, use these rule sets, and when I leave my house, use rule set Y.
Well, and otherwise, if we're using light sensor support, like I have a OtterBox set up here, and I can just flip my phone around and lock it in like so that my camera's out facing. So then,
Yeah, oh, totally.
that could work.
And
Sure.
I think your Droid. See, I guess my HTC One doesn't have an official light sensor.
I don't know if mine does or
I
not.
think yours does.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause,
'Cause
my
it does
Droid
have
did.
auto brightness. I just
Yeah.
never really thought
Yeah.
much of it. Okay.
So does mine. So I just don't know if the app doesn't support it or what.
It's hard to say.
But it's working just fine. I told it go ahead and use the camera. It was working totally fine.
Nice.
And it's really actually been pretty slick. I've noticed like right now it's dim because we have
got
a
crazy bright.
yeah we have a crazy light behind us up above us. But if I move it out into say the garage out there where
Right.
it's darker, it'll lighten back up automatically. Now a lot of phones will do this, but this allows you to set parameters around it. Like say don't adjust super fast.
Right.
Give me a few seconds before you just leap. To
Or don't
assume.
do it in a movie theater or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good
I
too.
mean,
yeah,
totally.
So it's pretty nice. User configurable all through and through, as you would expect from an Android Power app. One of the great things about Android is some of these apps just really let you go at it, and this is one of them. It's under active development. He's creating a widget right now. There is a little bit of an upsell angle where you can get some additional functionality. I've just been using the free one.
That would be cool.
I really like it.
I love that. I
So-
love the functionality. I love the fact that I love the graph. That alone is cool.
like the chat room saying, his HTC One definitely has light sensors, and it had basic dimming before I used this app.
Sure.
This app just kind of really opened it up.
Nice.
So I like it a lot. I'm gonna keep tabs on it. There's a few other ones I've done, like Lux Auto Brightness is another one that I've shown before.
Oh,
but
okay.
I like that one.
Sure.
Let's talk about the same thing for your desktop. It's
That's
called
what I want.
Khalees.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something I'm really passionate about because I need help here.
Now, the only caveat is your operating system needs to be able to manage your backlight. So, like, if
Okay.
your brightness controls work,
Yeah.
then you're set. And what this does is it is an open source program that calculates the ambient brightness in your room by using your webcam, and then it dynamically adjusts the backlight of your monitor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, this is something I've really been wanting because I've tried other software that never really quite did it for me.
So here you go. So here it actually gives you good stats too. Like here, let me
Cool.
see if we show that a little better. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's given us some stats. You can see what the ambient brightness readout is, and you got a little bar graph there. And what's really nice about it is it'll do it slowly. So as it just senses that maybe the sun is setting and over an hour period, it'll slowly adjust your background.
Oh, that's
so it's not this immediate change to
So
your
you're
eye.
not all, it's like all bright all of a sudden, or all dim all of a sudden. Okay.
Yeah. So it's called Calise, Calise, and you can go calise.sourceforge.net, or we'll have a link in the show notes. Works with every major distro. It's in the Arch user repository.
That's so cool.
Integrates in with dbus, so it actually has the ability, if you have another like a weather application that communicates over dbus, this can take input from the weather application and factor that into how it's adjusting. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. And so it's great for so that way you're just not baking your eyes. You're
right.
not,
and see, that's what I deal with at night. I already got light sensitivity issues.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Yeah, I do too. The later it gets, like my eyes start to get tired. Probably from staring at a screen for most of the day.
Will do it. Yeah, you got to take those breaks.
Turns out. Or, try artificial ways to trick your eyes. So that way you just kind of torture yourself more slowly.
Let the baking ease in, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So next week in the Linux Action Show, we're going to do, it's not a contest. There's no prize.
No. Just for fun.
It's just for fun. We want to see your desktops. And we want to kind of see your setup. So in the show notes, we'll have a submission form that you can fill out. We're going to ask for your name and email if you want to provide it, so that way we can follow up with questions. Yeah. And then an area for you to give us a description about the distro you're running, icons on your desktop, the software you use, URLs to any of the...
That's cool.
Like if you have a URL to the theme or the icon pack. We're going to have all that. And then in next week's /Etsy, we're going to kind of go through some of the cool setups people have for their desktops. I'm sure people have like Window Tiling Manager. Yeah. I'm curious how many Unity screenshots we're going to get.
Some awesome folks are in there. Just whatever you're using.
Yeah. Sure. So you can, if you don't want to use the form in the show notes, you can email screenshot at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Screenshot at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Send those in this week, and we'll look at them next week. You can also start a thread in our subreddit over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com. Just be sure you make it very clear in the title that this is a screenshot submission.
Right.
And that way Q5sys, who's helping collate all of this for us, will be able to see it. So you might get an email back from him or something to that effect, because he'll be... and
just to be ultimately clear, the email is screenshot at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
That way it gets tagged for Q5sys, so that way you can collate it for next week's /Etsy. Or you can, if you just use the submission form that we'll have embedded in the show notes, it'll automatically send it to the right place.
Perfect. Yeah. That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be...
That's the best way to be sure.
I got the idea because, every now and then I'm just hanging out in the chat room, and people start sending their, they're just like, hey, check out my...
Right, they're proud. They've configured it. They tweaked it. They want to show it off.
Yeah,
sure.
and check out this. So I've got this really cool GNOME extension for the GNOME 3 desktop, and it's called, it's just Imager for GNOME. And so I see if I'm bringing up my window here, and then I have this little eye up in my toolbar.
I was wondering what that was.
Whatever you want to call that.
And if panel-y guy.
Yeah, my panel. And if I click that, it turns my arrow into a crosshair, and then I can draw on my desktop. And then when I let go, see down in the GNOME notification, it gives me the imager. It uploads and automatically provides the imager URL right here in the notification area, and I can click copy link.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Is that only for GNOME?
Well, yeah, but there's similar. Like,
oh man,
we do you remember? It was like a couple of months ago. See down there, and then there's my screenshot.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you remember a couple of months ago we talked about ScreenCloud?
I do.
ScreenCloud uploads it to its own kind of... Well, actually, you have a couple different options with ScreenCloud where it can upload to. And ScreenCloud actually even provides more functionality than that. And what's cool about ScreenCloud, I was going to cover this in the feedback, but I think they just went fully open source. Yeah, there it is.
I believe I read about that.
Inspired by our show.
That's so cool.
Isn't that
I think
cool?
that actually showed up in the subreddit.
Yeah, it did.
That was cool.
Yeah, I was going to cover it in the feedback, but since it kind of fits. So ScreenCloud gives you even more functionality. ScreenCloud lets you, like ScreenCloud, what's cool about ScreenCloud, you can upload it to FTP, SFTP, Dropbox automatically, which is really nice, or Imager. You can do areas or the full screen. So ScreenCloud's like a full suite, whereas this GNOME 3 extension is just Imager, and you just click it, and then it just lets you select the area that you want.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little more simple.
Right.
And then it just crashed GNOME.
That's a feature.
There you go.
A little GNOME app.
The great thing about when GNOME crashes is, man, does it come right back.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's
boom,
like,
it's right
if
back.
I crash something, not so much.
No restart next. No, boom, it's right back, Matt. It's like, oh yeah, I just crashed. No bigs. What's
it
up?
just likes to kind of put the smack down on you once in a while. A little five across.
The guy's just showing you who's boss. Now, did you want to get back to work? And right back at you.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all our picks for this week. You guys can find links to that as well as links to our previous picks in the Linux Action Show notes. Just go over to the website, go to jupiterbroadcasting.com, look for Linux Action Show Season 27, Episode 6. Click on that, and then scroll down past the download links, and you'll find our show notes with all the stuff we covered this week.
Sweet.
All right, Matt. Let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense. My personal mobile provider. Also now my wife's mobile provider.
Nice.
And I'll tell you, one of the reasons that drew me to Ting is, I came because of these, and then I've stayed for other reasons. No contracts or early termination fees. That's been a huge problem for me in the past. This is truly and completely contract free. No bundling or ride-along services. Gotta love that. No overage or penalties. And this is why I've stayed. So, a while back, I cashed in some Bitcoins and bought myself this HTC One.
So jealous.
Took the Note 2 and I said, okay, wife, I want you to try this Note 2 and let's see what you think of Android after all this time. Because she's been an iOS user from day one, right? And she took the challenge on like a champ. And I'm going to show you, this is my actual account dashboard on Ting. And one of the things I did to kind of put myself in your shoes is I don't use a lot of phone minutes.
Right.
I use data, but I don't use a lot of phones.
That's just not your thing.
No. So I didn't have a lot on my account. And I thought, let's see what happens when the wife gets on because she's a talker. Let's see what happens if my Ting account goes over. I want to experience that because that's not really something I'd run into. Matt, it has been problem-free. First of all, when you open up my dashboard, just looking at this, you have an immediate grasp of what's going on without even really having an understanding of what the individual categories
without
are.
even really looking at the numbers, you can look at the sizing and the graphs and be like, oh, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's really... And look, I'm going to pay $31 for 2 smartphones and worry-free account management. It is the best dashboard I've ever used. I've added both phones without ever having to call a person. I log into the Ting website. I say, boom, I'm adding a phone. It's already done. But, if I did want to call Ting, no bigs. They got a no-hold customer support. You just call them at 1-855-TING-FTW anytime between 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern, and a real live person will pick up the phone. And not only is it an actual human being, but they are empowered to solve your problem. That's a huge differentiator there, and I absolutely love that about Ting. It's one of the reasons I'm able to recommend it to my family. Go over to last.ting.com and then check out these rates. They have them broken down into like T-shirt sizes.
I love that.
You got your small, medium, large, extra large, and you just play around with. You can mix and match. You say maybe you don't need a lot of phone minutes, but you need thousands of text messages and you need 1,000 megabytes of monthly space or transfer. Boom, you just plug in what you need right there. Dial it right to your specific needs. Go to last.ting.com. You'll save $25 off your first device, or if you bring your own device, they'll apply that $25 to your first month of service. That's almost getting the whole dang thing for free that month. Absolutely loving Ting. It has been fun, and and this whole like hassle-free experience of letting my wife jump on there, not having to worry about, oh my gosh, I need to add hundreds of more minutes. I need to get in this whole new bracket.
Log into the account real quick. Okay, am I okay? Am I okay?
No, we can't. We can't send pictures unless we're on a shared data family plan, honey. Sorry, we have to pay for each one. None of that. None of that. Ting is changing it all up, and they're empowering you. You own the device. You are empowered by Ting. Go over to last.ting.com. And thanks to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely loving my Ting and loving my HTC One. Best phone I have ever owned. And Matt,
yes,
I've owned a few phones.
You've had a few phones in your just
I've owned a few, and it's absolutely it's built amazing. Software's actually not that bad once I put Nova Launcher on there, and loving the speakers. It sounds like a silly thing, but these speakers on the HTC One,
they're pretty cool.
They're so nice that I don't feel like I need like an external.
They're proper speakers. That's what I like about them.
And they're stereo.
Yeah, they're stereo. I mean, they're proper. They're properly positioned.
We'll probably show those off a little bit later in the show when we're doing our media playback.
Yes.
So that'll be really cool. All right, our first story is a little Ubuntu update. We've been getting people are maybe getting a little overarched.
Yeah, it was kind of the Arch Action Show there for a little bit.
People are starting to complain.
Yep.
So it's funny because normally,
which is kind of funny,
right? Because normally it's complaining that we talk about too much at Ubuntu, but
can't win for losing.
No. Yeah, it's one of those things. So we're going to do a little update on the state of Ubuntu Touch because they've had some interesting developments. Number one, I think this is actually maybe even more huge than seeing some shipping code.
I would say so.
Ubuntu Phone has gotten this group of 8 carriers together that will serve as sort of advisors and potential product idea bouncers.
And see, this was critical not in only getting adoption from carriers and that sort, but it's actually got them at a participatory level, which is really important.
We got nobody really from the U.S., but very, very large carriers outside the U.S., absolutely respectable, and including some hardware manufacturers, at least in some capacity. Here's kind of the interesting. They're calling it the CAG, the Carrier Advisory Group. They'll hold meetings to map out key areas of Ubuntu Mobile for the platform and discuss its developments. Topics for discussion among this group will include differentiation for OEMs and operators.
Oh, wow.
So, in other words...
That's an important thing to discuss.
The things that, like Verizon VCast, those differentiators, the carrier's app store.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of drama there,
and
obviously. But,
and it's a reality. It
Yeah,
is an absolute
it is.
reality of the market for these types of devices,
Sure.
especially when you are an underdog who needs to incentivize the carriers to work with you.
Well, most importantly, it's obvious that the U.S. carriers are going to wait till the last possible minute to join up because that's how they roll.
Right. And I also think this differentiation thing, and this is total wild speculation when it's absolutely inappropriate to do so because it's all early days, but I think what you're seeing with this differentiation is the reason why there is the CLA, the canonical what is the CLA? Is that the canonical license that when you develop something for Ubuntu Touch, while the code is licensed as GPL3. Like let's take Mir. Mir is going to be a GPL3 project for Canonical's display server. However, all code contributors agree to the Canonical license agreement that says Canonical can relicense your code to any license they want, even if it's a proprietary one, and you're also granting them implicit patent license over anything you contribute. The reason you might want to do this is you might want to have a carrier be able to take the code and relicense it to something that's a little more business friendly to them, because it turns out mobile operators don't really like the GPL3 because of a lot of the patent stuff involved there.
I guess, I mean, I can see the practicality of it. It's a bitter pill. It's a very bitter pill. But I can once you get it swallowed, I can understand the mindset. But I think it's going to be a bumpy road.
Contributor license agreement.
Contributor license agreement. Okay.
They're also going to talk about HTML standards and performance, compatibility, marketplaces for apps that could be their own marketplaces, revenue share models for publishers and OEMs, payment merchant standards, platform fragmentation, and all of that kind of stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. And, the Ubuntu images, touch images are being regularly updated.
Which is cool. That's really nice to see.
Speaking of Ubuntu,
Play with.
remember when they put up that donations page?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Where you could donate when you download. They haven't been really super clear, although you have the sliders that kind of gave you an indication. They weren't really super clear about where the money was going.
Nope.
So some guy named John O'Bacon,
Whoever that is.
sounds like a fake name to me.
I don't buy it.
He's probably horribly bald. He's been working with another member of the team. The company has faced criticism for not making sufficiently clear exactly how the money was going to be collected under the community participation.
Sure.
Things like you'd have a slide that just said better coordination with Debian and upstreams and better support for flavors.
But people wanted something a little more granular.
What does that mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, they're trying to process that, sure.
So here's the deets. Donations collected under 3 community-oriented categories will be collected for a 6-month period in the time between 2 Ubuntu releases, and then will be applied during the following development cycle. Any leftover funds will be held over into the next cycle. The money in 3 categories will be held separately and will benefit the Ubuntu community itself, upstream, and flavors respectively. So that means first the Ubuntu community, then the money goes to upstreams, then it goes to flavors. Ubuntu members can apply for funding by filling out a request detailing the purpose for which they want to receive funding. Ubuntu's community team, which is headed by Mr. Bacon, will review the request and decide on the amount of funding to be granted. According to the announcement, requests should pay for things like travel and equipment rather than solicit arbitrary amounts of money. Bacon also says they'll publish a summary of available budget and list items where money has been spent and what the dollar amounts were.
That's the piece I think out of all that, I think that's the meat and potatoes of what people want.
Yeah, I do agree. The first such report should emerge around April 2014 for the money collected in the 1210 to 1304 funding cycle, which will be spent during the current ongoing 1310 development cycle.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and I think maybe people will be a little more excited about donating once they see that happen.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Good for them.
All right, let's talk about Red Hat.
Woo!
Just to kind of change things up for a little bit. We haven't covered any news out of them. Just some quick, how are they doing stats, and then we'll move on.
Yeah,
Red Hat has increased its revenue by 15% to $363 million in the last quarter. Not bad. Net income grew 8% year over year to $40 million. Revenue from software subscriptions alone rose 16% to $316 million.
$316 million.
And their main cash cow, which is probably the safest spot for them to be in, is their Red Hat subscription service, where you subscribe for updates and support.
And that makes sense because it's something they control. They can they can kind of predict where it's
predictable.
going.
I mean, for Red Hat, that is absolutely where you want your cash coming from. Of course, it's not the only source.
Sure.
So that's also really
they're
good.
Diversified, but they got a nice core base, foundation to sit on.
Red Hat's full report for the first quarter also notes the company has $1.22 billion in cash equivalents and investments after it repurchased $117 million of stock. Investors seem pleased with the results. In New York, Red Hat stock went up 3% after hours trading on Wednesday.
Nice.
Congrats, Red Hat.
Big time.
Yeah,
good for them.
I really,
I could use a little of that.
Yeah. Well, we all do in a little way, don't we? We all get
we all share the love.
That is one of the nice things. Just a quick plug for Linux Deepin 12.12. It just looks nice. Looks like a pretty.
It's very. The one thing I really like.
Flashy.
Very flashy. I think the one thing I liked most about them for new users, not for myself, but is their software manager. It's like,
yes.
Hey, Ubuntu guys.
Yeah.
This is what you've been trying to do.
That is so true. So, they create the Deepin desktop environment (DDE). So they're sort of pulling a Unity here on the.
Oh, they are. That's right.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good.
It's very polished.
I want to jump ahead. So they've got their own control center where they've integrated a lot of the things that when you install Unity Tweak or all that kind of stuff, like a lot of the tweak tools that you need to install to set some of the stuff, they've integrated into their management tools just by default.
Boy, that does kind of have a Windows 7 feel to it.
And then they have this big app launcher, which reminds me of GNOME 3.
Yeah,
but that's cool.
That's cool. Okay, well, we got some GNOME 3 in there. I like
that. This is the media player. They have the D player.
The D player, huh?
Or the D, I forget, D Music, something like that. That's their own.
Looks pretty full functional.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, maybe they don't have. Oh,
there it is. This is what I'm
center.
talking about, Ubuntu, right here.
Yeah, this software center looks fast. They've recently redone some of the plumbing on it too, so it's even faster.
4 options at the top bar to get things done. You're not like popping around all over the place.
They've already beat the software center in the fact that they're scrolling and the icon images are loading. Right. They've already beat them there. Like, guys, put that S on a CDN or something. Right. Like, I cannot believe how sometimes it takes 30, 40 seconds for screenshots to load.
Well, what's even more painful is it's faster for me to load it in the browser than it is in their stupid app.
Yeah, it is. It is not even comparably faster.
Yeah,
it is absolutely faster. It is ridiculous. And here, this is based on apt. This is based on the same damn architecture.
And by golly, if it's open source, borrow it. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
come on, folks.
Yeah. So, anyways, the reason why I mention it is because they're doing a lot of really interesting things here. Maybe not your thing, but they're off. They're
going
on their own
for different. And that's what I like. Yeah, I like this different. It's compelling. It makes you think. It may not be for you, but it might be for someone.
Like they've got a really nice notification system built in. They've got sort of that arrow peak icon preview when you.
Well, and they're listening to Maiden, which is already a good start. So I mean, you're on the right track.
Catch. So, anyways, if you're a tinkerer, it's worth tinkering with. I think.
I think so. Yeah. And like for my parents or something, this is really honestly something to really stop and think about. They're like, hey, this feels familiar. You're running Windows 7. You're running something you're wanting something polished and it looks good. Yeah, give it a try. It's good stuff.
I agree. All right, now we're going to get into something that is not everybody's bag under Linux, but it's very important to me.
Yes.
And that's video. Video production. This last week has been a very hard week for Chris. I've had a lot of hardware troubles around video production, and man, have I been pining to be able to move it over to Linux. In fact, Coda Radio last week was called Pining for Tux because we were just lamenting in the show about how desperately I'd love to move some of this workflow over to Linux. So I want to update everybody on sort of the status of media production on Linux, and there's some good stuff coming, like some really good stuff, but also some stuff that I'm worried that if we don't have an answer to, Linux is going to be caught flat-footed in the next generation of video editing.
And be back to square one, really.
Yeah, totally. So first, let's start with some good news.
Good.
You know the guys behind the OGG Theora codec, right?
Oh, long-time lover.
Yeah, well, they've declassified. I'm just calling it that. A new pre-alpha that is a prototype codec that will replace Theora and potentially replace H.264.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of doing incremental refinements on basic code design that say go back to 25 years to H.261,
right.
They're calling it DALA, and it makes use of lapped transforms, a technique that is also used in audio codecs such as MP3, Vorbis, and Opus. They have extensive experience in that, so they're applying that math to video. Development on DALA, which is only a code name, could be dropped once something a little better comes along, they say, but right now they're moving forward.
So they're open to whatever is going to provide the best experience, which I think is awesome. I think that's the right mindset.
I agree because they really have an uphill battle. Yep. Especially because somebody else...
But they realize it versus being in denial like a lot of other folks are.
Exactly. But I think their biggest competition is going to be from VP9. VP9, the open and royalty-free compression standard, was just enabled by default by Google in the latest build of Chromium. This is something I've been playing with. It's one of the reasons I'm using Chromium right now.
So Google's got to look on this. Okay.
And this is sort of the next generation of WebM. So VP8, WebM was VP8. This is VP9. Now, what's interesting is the Theora camp is saying, hey, our new codec, because of the way we're doing the math, we think it's going to avoid some patent issues. We've sort of sidestepped them by using completely different technology. VP9, that is not necessarily the case.
Okay.
Both of these codecs, however, have have much improved support for live streaming. This has been a huge area. People will show up for the Linux Action Show and they say, wait, why is your live stream not in Theora?
Right.
It's just not really doable. Or with WebM at this point. Both VP9 and Dala are working on much improved live streaming support. VP9 specifically around WebRTC, which is going to allow in-browser video sessions where they'll handle the video and audio.
Cool.
Yeah. So VP9's coming.
Liking that.
That's the good news.
Oh, no. Here we go. Brace for the bad news. Batten down the hatches.
Here's the bad news. So I want to talk a little bit about Thunderbolt. Michael over on Phoronix ran this article saying Thunderbolt still has problems for Linux, in which he calls, he mentions a hardware post here by a kernel developer who says that Thunderbolt is a dead technology and compares it to FireWire. But the current state of Thunderbolt on Linux is less than desirable. He still maintains. The state of Thunderbolt on Apple hardware with Linux is particularly bad. It turns out that Apple, in their infinite wisdom, doesn't follow the specification, but rather they require a kernel driver to do all of the work that the BIOS is supposed to be doing. This works out well for them since they share the code from their BIOS in their kernel. But for every other operating system that doesn't know how to talk directly to the hardware at that level, you're out of luck. So no Thunderbolt on Apple hardware or Linux, at least of
See, they do this on purpose. They're such boneheads.
Who, Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I'm telling you. You know.
And here's the problem,
Bite
Matt.
me.
And you know, I'll tell you.
Well, help a guy understand. Okay, so I'm I know nothing of like USB 3.0 versus Thunderbolt.
Right.
Why, do I care? I mean, like, I don't know.
Thunderbolt is the superior technology.
Is it superior? Okay.
Yeah, it's 20 gigabits. And the other thing that's really nice about Thunderbolt is
that's what I wasn't clear on.
The other thing Thunderbolt's great about is it's directly on the PCI Express bus. It's a 2x bus. But what that actually means is you can take an external cage, an enclosure, and you can actually put PCI Express cards in there and then hook it up over Thunderbolt.
That matters. Okay, yeah, now I care.
And the new Mac Pro that Apple's releasing in the fall or whenever has 6 Thunderbolt ports.
Oh, the one that looks like a trash can.
Yep,
I got
the trash can.
Yeah, right.
And there's no PCI Express expansion at all.
Well, of course not, because that would be functional and useful, and we don't want to do that.
Right. So people who use PCI Express are SOL. They have to switch to Thunderbird. And companies like Blackmagic are working on these Thunderbolt capture devices. They're about $300 right now. And you plug in via HDMI to that and then Thunderbolt into the Mac.
It's a solution. I mean, it's not a very pleasant one, but it's a solution, I guess.
I honestly think
you might have to.
Because of Apple's move here, the video production industry at the level that a lot of the online content creators are at is going to move to Thunderbolt. And so Linux is going to be sort of left out in the cold.
So as we catch up in our video editors, we're now behind on the hardware. On our hardware, and being able to
ingesting, as we call it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been in a tough spot because as we've covered in the show before, I run our production here on a Hackintosh.
Right, which I see your little message there at the center. I know that all too well.
Which has been dying on me, right? And so I've been limping along, hoping that at WWDC I could begrudgingly buy an updated Mac Pro and then move my PCI capture cards into that and just suck it up and have to use it. Now I'm worried that not only are we going to fall behind on the software, but we're going to fall behind on the hardware capture.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, because the way you explained it to me, that's going to be hard for anyone else to do effectively. I mean, that's a big problem. Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh,
he's giving birth. Here it is. Holy crap!
I hated it, Matt. I didn't want to do it, but I ended up buying a Mac Pro, an older Mac Pro, because I needed PCI Express, and I'm like, I can run Linux on this. I can't use Linux on that new Mac Pro.
No, absolutely.
And so I was like, well,
and of course, the little things like expansion slots and such, right? I mean,
that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the
PCI Express. Yep. Thing's heavy. Got PCI Express, and so maybe I can limp along for another couple of years with that. I'm hoping this will last a couple of years, and then maybe in 2 years Linux will have an answer, or Thunderbolt support will be better.
I think I have a plan. Powerball. I approach all the companies of all the software that are like Wirecast. Okay, you know what? I'm going to fund it for you because you people can't seem to get it up. All right, so I'm going to do it for you. Right? So I'm going to Powerball my lottery up in you, and I'm just going to, that's my solution. Because otherwise, I don't see it happening.
Let me tell you that the purchase. Jeez. I've bought a lot of hardware in my days, and hardware that's even cost more, although not much more than that Mac Pro. Right. It ruined about a 3-day period of my life.
Yeah, no,
I was very bummed. I kind of went into a little bit of a funk because first of all, it's expensive, and I don't have the money. Second of all, it's not the direction I want things to go in. I was hoping that something would just break. I was hoping either Linux on the software side something would break through, or Apple would just rev hardware for PCI Express.
A solution would reveal itself, and it didn't.
I mean,
right?
I was like sick to my stomach. I was bummed, but if that is the most clear statement I can put on the state of where Linux is at in video production. It's still at the point where when the host of the Linux Action Show has to buy something to do video production, I got to drop credit on a Mac Pro.
Right, exactly. And I think that's
depressing.
It's a message that Hollywood, end users, everybody's got to come together and be like, look, it's either blank or get off the pot here, because I mean that's really where we're at. We need to come together and find some way of funding this, because it's obviously requiring money, because that's where
is it going to happen? Is it going to happen if a lot of the prosumer, I mean, this online media production isn't just for podcast.
No,
a lot of companies have series they put out. A lot of people are using this level hardware now.
That's true,
and it's becoming a huge market. That's why Apple retooled Final Cut. It pissed off all the pros, but all of the online content creators are like, oh well, that's all the improvements I needed to do what I do.
Right,
and that's what they're targeting.
So they're catering
layer.
more so the. Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so now we have this layer that is becoming larger and larger. It's much larger than the Hollywood pros, because they buy these, like LucasArts and Pixar, they buy these entire systems that, maybe they run on Linux, but they're these custom, $80,000 software packages that they use.
Yeah, whatever they need, they just pay to make happen.
Whereas this is addressing a market where people can buy the parts and assemble it themselves and start a production, and Linux could really excel at this layer.
They could.
But if we're just kind of getting there on software, but now that we're just kind of getting there on software, we're falling behind on hardware.
Yep,
it's too bad.
Money,
but
I'll stand by that statement. And people, oh no, the community. No, the community hasn't really done an awesome job in this department. They've done amazing things with the editors, reasonably so, but in the hardware department, that usually requires some serious dollars. Just saying.
Oh man, I tell you,
and it breaks my heart to say that, but like I said, if I win the Powerball, I'm your man.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Help me pay off the Mac Pro.
Absolutely. Okay. Mac Pro first, get that paid off for, and then we're gonna.
I was honestly, and this, we've been talking off air for a while. I was hoping my next big expenditure for the network would be on like a road trip.
Bus. Yeah. Road trip, bus, anything like that.
That's my road trip sitting there.
Yeah. But, and we sat on it. We little horsey it really didn't go anywhere.
No, I mean this thing crashed twice this morning just before we even got started.
Close calls.
Now let's end this video stuff with a little good news.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Remember the OpenShot project had a successful Kickstarter,
yes.
right? Jonathan has posted an update on his blog.
This guy's so awesome. It's like all the stuff he's doing is right.
Look at this screenshot. Look at that.
Gorgeous. It's
Look how
that's
awesome.
what I want. Or rather up here. Yeah.
Yeah. OpenShot is looking really, really good. He's got all of his development machines set up right now. He's laid out a development schedule, like a full on, full up. Here's the.
He took the money and he got serious.
Yeah.
I mean, the man is not playing around.
He's released a preliminary scheduled timeline. Awesome. We should see a preview release in November, alpha and beta releases in December, and then a final release in January 2014.
January 14th. This is going to be an awesome month, let me tell you. I'm really excited for that.
Yes. At the end of his blog post, he says, I don't want to start an operating system discussion war, but I thought I would share my thoughts on 3 operating systems I've been using so far. My favorite development environment is Linux.
Wow.
Which is a delight to use, especially for programmers. Mac is my second favorite, with very nice setup for programmers, and continues to improve as I learn to navigate its unique keyboard mappings.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay.
Windows 8 has been the most difficult to work with, especially setting up the build environment and dependencies. Yep. Also, since much of OpenShot's build process takes place in the command line environment, that probably counts why Windows frustrates me so much. See, I got through that without starting a war, hopefully. Actually, a lot of his comments are about that last piece.
And what's awesome about Jonathan is that he didn't start off in a Linux space. When he came over to Linux, he was like, wow, there's not an editor here I want to use. I'm going to build one. So that's really cool. He's not a fanboy of Linux. He's really speaking from his heart.
He's being practical, yeah.
He's being very practical and speaking from his heart.
Jeez, man, that first preview looks
gorgeous,
so
right?
good.
It's like, and he really took into account a lot of the stuff people are saying, hey, I really want this, or you really need to pay attention to that.
Yeah,
that was really
I'm loving the fine-grained audio level controls there. So
because those are features I've missed a lot, especially with the audio. Let me tell you,
man, that looks really good. That looks
gorgeous.
really, really good. Can't wait to use that to edit the Linux Action Show. That's going to be great. Yep. All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. Matt, I've been tasked with an epic challenge in my household from the wife.
Oh,
solve our multimedia problem before our third child comes. She's going to have a couple of weeks where she's just going to take it easy and want to watch some movies.
Absolutely.
And so I was charged to solve this problem. And
make it happen.
I've done a lot of different solutions, kind of a hodgepodge approach, which has had its downsides. A lot of you probably are familiar. I've talked a lot about the Boxy Box. Talk a little bit about that, what I've done there. But I think the place to start is going to be your straight up, full powered, rockin' Linux multimedia system. So before we talk about that, I want to say thank you to our segment sponsor, and that is s27e06.
Woo!
Creators of machines born to run Linux and this new Ultra Pro laptop, which I was totally jonesing for this weekend. Look at this thing.
Love to get this thing in for review.
It's got a little HDMI port out right there. Super thin, nice 1080p IPS display, 14.4 or 14.1 inch screen. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that design.
I've already told him if I could get a hold of one of these, just even for a week, just to love it.
Or
to
forever.
Hold it. Oh,
Or
and forever.
forever.
And forever would be cool.
Or forever's fine.
Yeah, I'm good forever. I love that.
It's got the new Haswell processor, and it's got the new HD 5200 Intel video chip, which is supposed to be pretty great.
I want one.
I really like it. But, System 76 has a bunch of awesome systems, including my personal favorite, the Bonobo Extreme.
Serious laptop for serious individuals.
These are boxes that are meant to run Linux. You're not going to run into issues down the road because you decided to use something that isn't technically supported. No. When you see a product from System 76, you know that sometimes years of conceptualizing went into designing that product. These guys think about it from end to end. They really create complete products and complete solutions based around Linux. It's not a niche of their business. It is their business.
That's right.
Go to system76.com, check them out, and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you.
Love those guys.
Whoa!
Oh,
You don't even know.
man.
All right. So let's start with XBMC. That's everybody's favorite, Matt. And
Yeesh.
XBMC, if you're not familiar with it, you probably are a little silly by this point. But they're about to do a really great update. Version 13 is about to come out.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
And it's going to include a bunch of OpenGL improvements, a new version of FFmpeg, some back-end plumbing, even faster and better.
Nice.
This is a development build that I'm... that's Danica. This is a development build that I'm running right now on my Bonobes.
It's gorgeous, too.
And-
it makes me want to upgrade.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, and they've got even more themes they're working on. So when Gotham hits, it's going to be really something.
Oh.
Here's what I love about XBMC, just a quick demo, because we're going to show you a lot of stuff. These are available for you to check out more. But if you go into the video section, my first thing that I like, obviously, add-ons, Badango, Jupiter Broadcasting app. So you can watch Jupiter Broadcasting shows. Now, unfortunately, if you're a Plan B fan, you'll have to find it in the most recent section.
Yep.
But you see, you can scroll through here, and you get the album art of each of our shows.
That's awesome. I
right?
love that.
It's like if I can go here in Dakota Radio, and here's our Pining for Tux episode that I just mentioned. Woo! Right? Very nice. Very, very clean, very good interface for getting access to Jupiter Broadcasting content. But of course, also, you can access files on your either network share or local machine. And you see here, one of the cool things XBMC does in this theme, and a lot of other themes too, when I go over a particular movie, it changes the background to match that movie's look.
Oh, that's so nice.
Isn't that really
That's really
slick?
gorgeous. And the fact that we were talking about earlier, how back in the day, you'd have to do this manually with a folder JPEG or, with your TBN.
Goes out there and
it
fetches
does
it
for
all.
you. Yeah.
Yep,
Bam,
and
bam, thank
I
you,
can
ma'am.
pull up an info screen. I get all of the information about this movie, who directed it, how long it is, the year it was, where it's at on my box. And of course, I can get the description. And then if I hit play,
cool.
it'll ask me if I want to resume from where I left off.
Feature I love. I love it.
So you can start watching right away, and it brings up this nice on-screen menu system.
And what's cool with XBMC too is that you can either use an Android app to control the functionality of the app, or you can even set up an infrared remote. You can actually light it for PC. I've done that.
There's a lot of really, really, really good Android remote control apps for XBMC. First of all, I love the UI of this thing. I love how it continues to play.
Right? Isn't that great?
Oh, man, this is so slick. But I should probably turn it off before we get pulled down from YouTube. But
good plan.
yeah. There's a new app that I just got for Android to control XBMC, and it is called, where is it? Here it is. It's called Yahtzee.
Yahtzee.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that one.
YATSE, I believe, and it'll just automatically detect your Xbox Media Center if you have Discovery turned on,
Right.
and then it gives you full content previews in here. You get all of
See,
the.
that's what I'm talking about right there. That's where the love happens, right?
It's very nice integration. But you guys already know about XBMC.
Yes.
You already know about XBMC, so we don't
Old
need to
hat.
spend a lot of time on that. That's old hat. It's been around for a long time, and it's super awesome. Version 13 is going to be even better. And, of course, one of the great things about XBMC now is you can load it on a Raspberry Pi.
So cool.
Very cool. And there's even RasBMC, which is an image pre-built for the Raspberry Pi that includes Xbox Media Center.
Nice.
A reason I like this one more than some of the other solutions out there, there's a couple different ones, but this one is being very aggressive with their updates. They're constantly on a monthly basis at minimum pushing out new updates with new support of
Pushing
stuff.
that envelope. I like
totally.
that.
So the Raspberry Pi, if you think about it, silent. It's got HD playback acceleration for H.264 decoding, Ethernet. It's going to do for a lot of people what they need.
It really will.
HDMI out.
Yeah.
This is totally going to do it. So if you want to use XBMC for $40, this would make a great XBMC front end.
It's spouse friendly because you can blend it into your existing console setup. No one's going to care.
Longtime fans of the show might remember that a couple of years back, I bought 2 of these boxy boxes from
Yes.
D-Link, the D-Link boxy box. And then, of course, as it often goes with technology like this, the vendor decided that wasn't the direction they wanted to go anymore, so they canceled the project. But me and a lot of our viewers out there still have these boxy boxes.
Right. What are you going to do with these things?
Well, thanks to Matt, he pointed me in the direction here.
did.
Boxy Box Hacks, boxyplus.com lets you download a firmware. You just put it on a USB thumb drive.
Which is so nice.
You put the thumb drive in the USB port. You go into the settings of your boxy box. You change your host name to the path of the script. You turn on Samba Server, and then it automatically roots the device and installs a custom updated firmware that has better performance, an updated UI, faster starting of videos. It kind of just, it's Boxy Box Plus.
Yeah, it's like it's cranked up a notch.
Yeah.
right?
So if you were one of the folks that bought one of these boxies and you need something, to kind of just do, just to kind of extend it a little bit longer,
freshen it up a little.
yeah, go check out boxyplus.com. It is the easiest custom firmware I've ever gone through.
Yeah,
Just-
I mean, right off the thing, bam, wham, bam, super duper duper.
so that's great. Boxy Box also runs Linux.
Gotta love that.
You gotta love that.
Gotta love that.
But they're not making it anymore.
I know, but it's cool that there's the community came together to find a solution to
Yeah.
kind of crank
Oh,
it
yeah.
up a little bit.
But here's the thing.
That's cool.
We are now living in a time. I'm going to just put this Boxy Box on the floor. We are now living in a time where I don't just need to get media to my TV.
No.
I also, maybe
portable
we're,
devices you got to think about.
yeah, maybe we're in the doctor's office and we have a 25-minute wait. Wouldn't it be great if I have all my content at home? I could have my content with me wherever I go.
Right.
So now we've got, or just around my house. Now I've got multiple mobile devices that maybe run different operating systems. Here we've got an iPad that runs iOS, obviously not running Android.
Absolutely. You're in the kitchen. You're cooking something that's you need to be there for, but you can't see the television.
Maybe
That
I want to
angle.
watch on
Yeah.
my laptop,
Right.
then I want to watch on the TV.
Exactly.
And I needed something to make this easy for the family and a babysitter to use too. So
Right.
there's a lot of little areas I'm trying to check off. Something that has the spouse approval factor, something
Exactly.
that's got that passes the babysitter use test, and something that works the way my kids expect it to work. So it's funny watching my kids use media. Dylan doesn't understand why maybe sometimes one movie's on one TV but not available on the other TV.
Right.
And he doesn't understand why if he watched 15 minutes of it on the iPad, why he can't watch the other 15 minutes on the TV. Like why?
And
is
see,
this-
I think for people that make the software, there's a message there. You could
Yeah.
learn a lot from this
Right.
usability.
He's like, to him it doesn't make any. Like,
And-
of course,
and-
this is how it should work, right?
And I agree.
yeah.
I totally agree.
Well, enter Plex Media Server for Linux. Now, you might be familiar with the Plex front end. It was sort of an offshoot of XBMC and Boxy, available for the Mac originally, and then it's made it to other platforms.
Right.
And the server end is available for Linux. And it's very, very, very good. Very good. I'll show you a little bit. I've just done a
give
little,
us a little something here.
I'll give you a little demo of it here I have on my my system here, Matt. So there's a couple different ways you can access the Plex Media Server.
Okay.
First of all, you got your web interface.
Right.
And it's not
Which I like.
yeah, it's
I mean, really.
it is maybe the best web interface I've ever seen to get
Yeah.
access to content. So watch. If I go into movies here, this is just a demo setup. Here's some backed up movies, right?
Sure.
Now, what's killer about this is all of these are all synced together with all your other devices. So if I go into Star Trek here
Right.
and I say play, it'll ask me if I want to resume where I was playing on my other device.
Oh, see, that's the missing piece that is being expected by people.
Now here, I'm in the web UI.
Right. Okay.
But I did that. I was playing. What device was I playing? On my desktop.
Right.
So
You were
as
playing it in XBMC and on another
Yeah, as
device.
you move around, it keeps track of all those
That's
locations,
so cool.
right?
So theoretically, you're running it on your Android device, and you want to then jump back to your web or vice versa.
Or even better, Matt, check this out. So to kind of kick Plex up a little bit, did you see how I waited too? I gave
You
it a
were
pause.
pretty patient, but you're like,
and
you know what?
And then
Just
I'm going
slow
to go
today.
give it a shot. And then
Yeah.
as soon as I go to give it a shot, then the UI rotates, of course. So there is also very good Plex apps for mobile. So if you don't, you could use the web UI. Everything, it'll convert everything to HTML5 video in your media library and stream it to any web browser that supports HTML5 video. So that's every mobile device, right? Or for $4, you can get the Plex app. And the Plex app is the exact same web experience in the app. But check this out. So here's Star Trek, right?
Okay.
See here, I have these options in Star Trek. Play here, play on Roku 3, or play on Nexus 7. When I click on play on Nexus 7, it asks where I want to, so let's say resume, right? It then pushes that play to my Nexus 7 and starts playing back Star Trek on my Nexus 7. So as a parent, what's really cool about that is, first of all, on the back end, it's taking a 720p high definition 8 gigabyte Star Trek MKV, and it's transcoding it on the fly and streaming it 3 megabits at 720p. I've defined that to my tablet. What's awesome about that is, as a parent, I can be like, oh, okay, you want to watch this episode of Curious George? Sure. Let me send that to your device. So they can just say, hey, Dad.
Great.
Right?
Totally. Like you're upstairs, downstairs, what doesn't matter.
Or the wife. Say if the wife is like having a hard time using the media center, you can just sit at your desk and you can just start it on the TV for her.
Cool.
Yeah. Or husband, depending on your preference.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the same option I had there was for Roku.
See, and I love that. So you got, for audio listeners, you have a pull-down menu for your play on in the
any
way,
device
the
that's connected recently.
Any device. So in this particular case, Nexus 7 or Roku 3, and it recognizes them by name, so it's easy and easy to understand.
And so the apps are quite nice. So you get a full Plex experience on the mobile apps. But where it really gets awesome, where the rubber really meets the road, is if you're willing to spend a little money. This is how you get it on your TV. And this is what I've done recently. I absolutely recommend this wholeheartedly. I'm all into this now. And to be clear, I was a guy who said, I will never transcode my media to get it to my...
I remember having this conversation. Yeah.
I will, because as a video production guy, I will never do an extra transcode unless I absolutely have to, because it softens the image. It's not high fidelity. But the fact that Plex lets me set the bitrate so high, that kind of changes the deal for me.
Absolutely.
But when you introduce the Roku, and I went with the Roku 3, it's $99. Roku runs Linux.
It does.
And it is an awesome device that has Netflix support, so it solves the Netflix problems, which you don't get on XBMC on Linux. It solves Amazon On Demand. It has Pandora, Hulu Plus. It has some games. There's the Jupiter Broadcasting app, so you can watch Jupiter Broadcasting content on the Roku. There's also a Plex app. And this Plex app interface is very similar to the web interface. It looks a lot like the same web interface that you already know and love.
So it'll feel familiar. It's consistent. That's important.
It allows resuming from wherever you're at with, so cool. like I go into Aladdin here, right? Here's Aladdin. I hit play. It says, okay, where do you want to start? And what's so great? Okay, so we're going to do this and see how it converts it to an HTML5 video on the fly.
Oh, that's so tidy.
This is so nice and so clean. And what's so great about it is you can, once it's kind of done its initial buffering, you can jump around in the video.
Now come along, sis. Time to go see the doctor.
So let's jump ahead. Let's go ahead to the 59-minute mark.
And performance seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, it seems to. Yeah, and this is with my family watching it upstairs right now. Too.
Right,
just a handful of this stuff would make me richer.
And it's only on a Core 2 Duo.
Right.
That's what the Plex media server is running on right now. So if you threw like an i7 at that thing, man, you could have multiple HD streams just rocking. So the Roku box connects to it. Automatically, the Roku box just discovers the Plex media server. You just run the Plex app, then you're in the entire Plex environment. All of your media, all of your videos, your music, everything's available on the Roku box. You can push to it. And what's so cool about the Roku 3, and this is, again, that's awesome because it's a Linux box.
Yeah, right.
Roku 3 has this awesome remote, which has a headphone jack.
So you're in bed, you got the big screen TV up, right? And maybe your spouse is reading, or maybe they want to sleep. And you want to watch TV quietly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Boom. There it is.
And the other thing that, in my case, like the room is, the bedroom is right above our living room.
Oh, yeah.
And the speakers are in the ceiling. So if I'm watching TV, it's sort
kind of a thing, yeah.
But see, what the Roku does here is it has this little headphone jack. You plug that in. The Roku automatically detects as soon as you make that connection.
So awesome.
And you have volume control on the side of the Roku remote. I believe it's using Bluetooth audio or something. It sounds fine.
It must be. Yeah, it probably is.
It's so easy to use. So then you've got this Linux-powered media center that's connecting to my Plex media server, which is also running on top of Linux. All of the streaming is automatically set up.
Gorgeous.
And the last thing that's really great about Plex is a lot of you probably try to do video streaming from a Samba share. You tried this before?
I have. Oh, and help me here, please, because it sucks.
Right. And the Roku really doesn't facilitate this very well.
Yeah.
The Boxy Box does. But the issue is that the SMB protocol is really not designed for streaming that type of data.
It isn't.
It's the message block protocol. It's meant to send messages back and forth,
exactly.
Right? And there's an inherent inefficiency in streaming video over SMB. And you'll actually, even if you have a pretty fast network and pretty fast hard drives,
sometimes it'll buffer forever or whatnot.
And especially depending on the Samba server. If it's an older Samba server or an actual Windows box or a Mac, it can be really bad. It's a little better Linux to Linux, but it's still not great.
Yeah, it's still got some issues.
So the Roku system, the Plex system, it actually does a version of HTTP streaming. So it's much more efficient. It's much faster. So you can stream a much larger high resolution file over in a lower bandwidth situation, potentially like wireless or something like
Really?
that. Yeah. So the Plex.
So walk me through what that would be.
Plex just does it all automatically. So
Okay.
once you have something in your Plex library, see if I go in here to configures,
Yeah,
and you can go down to transcoder
Right.
and you say advanced, ding right there.
Yep,
You
right.
can set your different settings here if you're running into problems, right?
Sure.
So you could actually adjust some of this.
Okay.
And on your individual devices too, you can say, you know what, I'm having a hard time with the 720p stream. Could you downsample that to 480? Or if you're not having any problem, you say, you know what, give me the full 1080. Give me the full
Right,
1080.
right.
So you can kind of dial it there. And so what I've been doing is I'm getting the absolute highest quality source files. I can, 15, 16, 17 gigabyte movie files. And then I'm just dialing down to the device that I need. So so my idea is I don't need a 1080p 11 megabit file for my phone.
No.
Maybe in 10 years, I don't know.
Right.
So it's nice to have that source file so that way when I am watching it on my Roku, I can go full bore. And when I'm watching it on my mobile device over, my LTE connection,
Right.
I can dial it down a little bit.
Well, here's the $10,000 question. XBMC and Plex are obviously, it's based on XBMC. Is there a performance difference out of the box before you've tweaked anything? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, well,
like Plex-
XBMC's faster.
Is
First
it
of all,
faster? Okay.
you're generally running XBMC on a little better hardware because this is a Plex app running on top of the Roku.
Okay.
So you're limited to the menu performance of the Roku. That said,
it's
pretty minimal. It's a clean, tight design. If you've used the Netflix app on Roku, it's a lot like that.
Okay. And as far as video streaming, about the same as XBMC.
It's more similar to Netflix because it's actually starting to stream and then buffers it just for in my case 5 seconds.
Because with XBMC, that's what I would run into is I'd be watching really crappy quality stuff and it just.
Well, the Roku and the Plex app they'll detect a slow link and it'll actually pre-buffer a little bit. And just like on Netflix, you'll see doot 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 doot. It'll even give you the quality gauge.
Right.
So it'll say you're going to get this in
Like you would on Amazon
HD
Netflix.
quality.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it starts. And in fact, the interface is so similar that my wife was using. Is is this Netflix or is this the Plex app?
Oh,
and that's great because she has no problem with the Netflix app, right?
So she's totally. You sold me. I'm so on that now.
So for the spouse approval, it was great.
That would be
now,
dynamite.
if you want to get crazy, if you want to get nuts,
I want to get nuts. I want to take it to the full throttle. Yeah.
There's a Plex Pass.
Ooh.
There's a yearly $30 fee, a lifetime fee of $80, or a monthly fee of $4.
Okay.
Their service then acts as sort of this go-between between your Plex media server, which can configure your router via universal plug and play, and your mobile device. So that way, when you're out on the go, you log into the Plex app on your mobile device, the same Plex app you use to stream it on your local network. So it's just the one app. You launch that app on your mobile device, and then it will automatically, the Plex Pass service will do kind of, like a log me and kind of negotiates
kind of
the
a
connection
dynamic
between the
DNS
two.
type deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
It links the two up and then starts streaming on the go. So you can get access to all of your music, all of your photos, and all of your videos that are in your Plex media server on the go. And the other nice thing is Plex is always scanning your content directories and automatically downloading the metadata information about the movie, the actors, the album art, and all that stuff. So all you need to give it is the raw files, and then it'll go out and get all of the associated data, and then displays all of it. And I love
the fact that certainly you can do a lot of the stuff you can do manually, maybe on XBMC or whatever, but not having to do it in such a configured way.
XBMC is pretty good at it now too.
Sure,
and later XBMCs will go out and get a lot of that info too.
But the pass is that really speaks
the pass
to me.
thing
That's really speaking.
This
to me.
is great too for folks that really just kind of want to set it and then walk away and not have to hassle with it anymore. And so you can see. The UI that you get in the web interface is very similar to the UI you get on the other devices. They all sync amongst each other. You can leave off. And there's one last thing that I think is really cool for podcast users. Now, let's say, maybe, Matt, you're crazy and you're over at that.
I'm nuts.
You've been to JupiterBroadcasting.com?
I've been there once or twice, maybe 3
Well,
times.
there's this show over there called Unfilter. And it's been covering a lot of this NSA Prism stuff. So if you're interested in that, you might want to watch the latest episode.
Sure.
I've got a little Chrome extension right here that looks like the Plex icon.
Oh, no way.
I click that, right? Wait for it. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on.
Yep.
Wait for it. Well, maybe not. You know what? Might have to log into the MyPlex.
Yeah,
Anyways, what's supposed to happen, but I think you have to be logged into MyPlex, is it'll launch a sidebar.
Okay.
Sign in. Let me see. Let's see.
That's
Here
it.
we go. Here we go. I'll get signed in, and then I think it'll work. So I should be able to, once I get signed into MyPlex, which is sort of, again, that go-between service.
Right.
Okay. Signed in.
Well, and while that's signing in, I have a question for the Plex service as far as now. If I'm not wanting to stream it outside of my house and I'm just wanting
don't
to get
need
it on
this
my
at all.
LAN, I don't need it.
Don't need that Plex Pass at all. Don't need it at all. In fact, you might not even need it if you know how to set it.
I didn't figure you would, but
No, in fact, I think maybe Well, totally. If you know how to set up your firewall so that way you can forward ports
and then just
stuff,
do dynamic DNS yourself.
do it yourself.
Right.
Do it yourself. And since the web interface is so great, it totally works. All right.
Cool.
Now I've logged in. I'll reload the page just to make sure. So here's episode 55 of Unfiltered. Now when I click this, there we go.
There it is.
You see how this sidebar comes out?
Yeah.
It says looking for video content on this page. It finds
nice.
the HTML5 embed. Doesn't have to be a Flash video. It finds the HTML5 embed. Okay.
Right.
Now when I go over to my Plex web,
Right.
you go find the queue.
Refresh or anything? Or?
No, it's you find my queue. Don't know where my queue is. You find your queue,
Right.
which I've actually used more on my mobile devices, but let's see. Well, maybe I can show you here. So now it'll automatically save. So you can go through and you can tag a bunch of videos using that extension.
Right.
It's a Chrome-only extension, but they also have a bookmarklet, so you don't have to be using Chrome.
Well, that's helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't have to actually, because I'm running an extension in Chrome courses using resources.
Yeah, and not everybody likes Chrome,
Right.
and all that.
Bookmarklet kind of makes that easy for you. They're really thinking of everything.
So so here we go. So I can slide between. Now here's my queue.
Oh,
And if I hit refresh, I
Yeah.
should see.
It'll pop up.
So I've queued. So
There
I've
it
queued
is.
2 videos in the my queue there, and you can kind of see it. I have the faux show and Unfiltered. And what's really nice is I can just be kind of like it's kind of like a read it later service
Right.
for my videos. I can now watch these on my tablet. I can watch them through the web interface, or I can watch them on my TV.
So to put this into like a practical,
And it syncs all the location of all.
Oh,
of them.
that's super. So it's like you're thinking, oh wow, there's a particular episode, maybe a faux show you're wanting to watch, and you're like, oh, I really want to remember to watch that, but I might not think of it later.
Right.
Bam.
I just click that. Yep.
and it's gonna be there to remind you when you open.
Yeah,
up
so now
Plex
here
later.
I'll hit faux show,
That's
right?
so cool.
And what's neat is it shows you a little buffering of the faux show here, and depending on how large the file is, it'll sort of take its time. Then it goes out. Look at this. It even
so
gets the
awesome.
episode description
That's
and the
awesome.
show
All that
artwork,
metadata. Woo!
all
Love it.
automatically. Oh, I didn't do any of that. I
That's
click play
cool.
right up here at the top, and then it starts the faux show. And while it's playing the faux show, it
Right.
also puts the metadata down here at the bottom of the tablet. So and
That's awesome.
and mind you, it's going out and finding the best appropriate version and all that, and it's
Right.
taking our HTML5 video stream directly and forwarding it to this Nexus.
That is super cool. And boy,
Yeah.
those speakers rock. Let me tell you.
So I'm really that part is really really fun because
That's cool.
You can
cool.
just sort of tally up. Say you spend in a day collecting all your videos, and then just go sit down in front of the TV, fire up the Plex app on the Roku, and then just sit
And
through
this
your
will
queue.
work on YouTube as well. I would.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really big because YouTube subscription model stinks.
Right,
It's
right.
like only email. Who uses
it,
that?
it goes into
That's
text video,
cool.
HTML5 embeds, Flash video
Man.
embeds, and then goes and gets the sources. If it's a YouTube video, it'll go get an H.264 version of it. It won't have to do Flash. It'll go
So
get
that could potentially translate into YouTube
avoiding Flash.
Yeah, avoiding Flash, obviously, but also being able to put the YouTube content onto your Roku via Plex app, right? Is
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, when you sit down and you launch the Roku
Right. It'll
app,
sync
the
up
Plex
and-
app, your queue that isn't showing up here on the web interface
Right.
for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
it's
not
buried in there
displayed.
somewhere under
Yeah.
more or something, probably. But, yeah.
But on the Roku, it's front and center.
Oh, that's cool.
It's front and center. They also have limited
That's so
support for what
awesome.
they call Plex channels.
Oh,
I'm
that's interesting.
less impressed with these, but they've got like
they exist for whatever.
yeah, they got a SoundCloud app, they got a YouTube app, so you can
That's cool.
It has limited YouTube. I installed the Ustream so I can watch some live stream stuff, and again, all of it's available on all the devices. The podcast position playback is really cool, right? Because you can go queue up the
Yeah.
video and watch a little bit on your desktop, and then go watch a little bit on your TV.
Just the control of management and all that.
Yeah.
Really, it's very granular. I like that.
I eyeballed this whole Plex thing for a while, but I'll tell you, man.
Well, we talked about it because I
Yeah.
never really explored it, and we were both kind of like, we'll check it out.
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll check it out because it's proprietary.
Yeah,
And
right.
And I was like, I'd rather just use XBMC. But what's great about it is this Plex media server provides this centralized database. So it goes out and gets all of the metadata once.
Right.
Whereas with XBMC, each XBMC instance goes out, gets the metadata, does the download, gets the album art, each one. So sometimes I have different things on different XBMC installations for some reason. Whereas Plex centralizes all of that on the Plex media server on Linux, and Plex Media Server is capable of detecting other Plex Media Servers on your network and working with that Plex Media Server. When you combine that with the Plex for Android app or the Plex
Right.
extension for Chrome,
Totally. Or the bookmarklet.
or the bookmarklet, yeah.
I mean, goodness.
Would it be great if the Android app was free? Yes, but for $4.
But if it means it's going to be better supported because it's not, I'm on board.
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You got a great tool. It rocks.
there's some free. There's other free implementations. So not only is it available for the Roku, which has been a total win for me,
Yeah.
and
I own one. I love it.
So I wasn't sure what way to go. I was trying to figure all this out. I was actually kind of leaning towards building an XBMC rig in the bedroom. But the wife said to me,
Your heart kind of tells you to, but then reality.
She
sets
said,
in.
you know, okay, that's good, but will Netflix work? And I'm like,
She nailed it,
if I do Windows,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to do that.
No.
I've done Windows as a media center just to try to get Netflix working, and I said, nope, and I ripped it out.
Exactly.
So I didn't want to have to go that route. The Roku affords me Netflix,
That's right, and it affords you Linux, which is cool.
which makes me feel good. It's quiet, it's cheap. So I bought one for our bedroom. It's $99. I bought another one. I'll have a link to the Roku in the show notes if you want. And I mean, super impressed with this whole setup. There's also Roku apps available for Samsung smart TVs, and I think maybe Sony TVs. There's more smart TVs actually have not Roku apps, Plex apps.
Plex apps, right?
So the smart TVs that are shipping now, some of them you can just load Plex right onto the TV itself. You don't need any other box. Yeah,
that's awesome.
this is the coolest media server I've ever seen. Now that said,
Right.
we're not done.
Okay.
We're not
We're
done.
not done. Wait, there's more.
In a future episode of the Linux Action Show,
Okay.
because I feel like we've covered quite a bit this episode. But in a future edition of the Linux Action Show, we're going to cover Amahi. One of the things that Amahi solves that you have struggled with a lot
badly.
is disk storage.
Right.
Amahi has this really cool disk pooling technology.
Dude.
Yes.
Dude, is this what I think it is? Oh my god, I'm gonna like.
It's a complete package,
start
and
dancing.
you can load it on top
finally.
of an Ubuntu 12.04 install, or you can download their ISO where everything's pre-packaged and built in, and then it's just sort of like an appliance that you set up.
Right.
This looks like it has a ton of potential. I already have a storage solution in place.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Yeah.
But- so this is basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, I don't really have to care so much about how much storage I have locally.
You can, because it'll create this big pool, and you can just keep adding storage to it. So
So is this cloud-based? Is that
no,
no?
you got to add local disk.
Oh, but that's okay.
Yeah. But so what's great is you can just add as you go. So you add a terabyte drive, and then
Right.
maybe in 7-8 months you need a little more space. You can add another terabyte drive. You don't have to repartition. You don't have
Right.
to redo the RAID. You know,
And, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
I can certainly add drives. That's easy.
Amahi looks really great. They have an app market.
wow.
Some are paid, some are free.
Sure.
And so I just felt like we could probably do a whole dedicated episode on this.
Yeah.
But people have written in and asked us about this. Yes, it's on our radar. The other thing that Amahi does is it has like some intranet solutions, which you and I have talked about doing a show on intranet stuff before too.
Big time.
So this will do WordPress hosting. This will do MediaWiki, PHPMyAdmin, SAB-NZB. So it'll kind of give
that's
you
cool.
a complete intranet server as well as a media streaming solution.
Transmission. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But if you just straight up want your pictures, videos, and music, and you got the storage stuff solved, and you got a Roku, you have got to check out Plex Media Server.
Yeah.
Absolutely free. Runs on Linux. There's also got available for the other operating systems that I guess that are out there.
Right.
I'm not familiar with those.
I don't remember what they're called, but
Haven't
they're
heard of
there.
them.
They exist.
And you know, I guess so. This is the part my wife was the least impressed with.
Okay.
But I took Star Trek. I played it for a few seconds on my HTC One.
Right.
And then I played it on the Nexus 7. And then I played it on the iPad.
I know what you're going
And then I
with.
played it on the Roku. And I said,
Right.
"Do you see how I?"
And
also-
I've done this myself.
Yeah.
My wife's usually like,
yeah, my wife's like, "So what?"
yeah, she's like, yeah,
Of
I
course-
just want to watch it here. I don't care about
Of
that.
course, that's how it works. And I'm like, "Do you not understand the technology that had to go in to make that possible?"
I live this every day. I understand.
It's like,
I totally
no,
get it. Yeah.
It's amazing. So,
I mean, she's happy that my wife's happy. I'm happy, but that's
yeah.
really about it.
Yeah,
you know?
and
It's
she's
kinda
like, "Look, I don't care. I don't want to have to mess with the media centers anymore. I'm done with this." I'm like,
Right.
"I understand. This
Yeah.
is it." And the great thing about this setup is I feel like it gives me a few years. I can scale across all form factors, all devices, all TVs. The
And-
Plex app is coming out on multiple systems.
and you're not going to band-aid solution later on because
Right.
you know you're taken care of.
Loves it, and it
Yep.
solves that mobility problem that we have. Combined with the Roku 3 with this headphone jack in the remote, which then also solves the late night TV watching problem I've
No
had.
boom boom on the speakers or nothing.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm a really happy boy. So I've been catching up. It's been great. I've been watching the new Arrested Development series, and then I'll
Nice.
switch over to Plex, and the kids and I will watch a cartoon movie.
Right,
it's,
right.
It's been awesome.
That's cool.
So I give a big thumbs up to Plex Media Server and the Roku 3. But don't forget, if you're an XBMC user, there's a new update coming out for you very soon.
Yep.
And if you got a Raspberry Pi, you've got to go check out Raspbimc or whatever.
Yeah,
Raspbim.
XBMC is looking really sexy. Look, it's all more of what we love about it already. I
Yeah,
think that's
absolutely.
really what it is.
All right, Matt, that's the Linux Action Show's look at getting video all over the place. I know what you're thinking. Another Ubuntu derivative will hold tight. In this segment of /Etsy, I'm going to try to convince you why Zorin OS is worth a look, at least for the right type of user. Now, I know when I heard Ubuntu derivative myself, I said, put this in the column of not so interested in. Another one. Oh, my God. I know. I said the same thing. A lot of times when you have an Ubuntu derivative like this that comes out, I kind of I take note of it and I think, oh, I'll put that on the back burner. If they do something that gets my interest, I'll reconsider it. Well, such a thing happened. I have heard about Zorin OS, but I was never really quite compelled to check it out until the guy wrote in. I think that's his real name, his God-given name. The guy convinced Matt and I to give Zorin OS a try. He seemed really impressed by it. So Zorin OS 7 has come out, and I'm going to give you a little look at it and say, maybe why you need to give it some consideration. Huh? But before we do that, I want to thank this segment sponsor. That's Untangle. Go over to untangle.com/LAS. Untangle.com/LAS. Right there in the middle of the page, they'll have a download Untangle link. You can get an ISO and try it out because Untangle knows that choosing an edge of network device is one of the most important devices you can pick. So you might as well download it and kick the tires and see what it can do on your own. You can get a 64-bit ISO or even a USB stick image. One of the things I personally really love about Untangle as somebody who's been in the industry for a while now, Untangle has a unique approach to their sales. They're the only multifunction firewall vendor that sells you directly to their customers right from their website. It means you don't have to have access to the salesman in order to get a price quote. And you know how that works. You have to deal with the salesman. He gets back to you when he's around, and he gives you the price with his markup on it. A lot of times, I'm working late. I'm trying to put a project proposal together. I want to be able to go right to the source and get the prices. That's what I love about Untangle. There's no haggling, no negotiating, no jumping through hoops. They've also got their superior content filtering capabilities. So once you get Untangle installed, if you want to check it out, you can check out their virus lock blocker, intrusion prevention, spyware blocker. They got web filters in case maybe you're at a school or you have kids at home, web cache, bandwidth control, WAN balancers, IPsec, all kinds of VPN functionality, all that kind of goody stuff. Not only that, but they have their content filtering goes way beyond their competitive products like, Barracuda and some of the other guys. Shh, not even close. Unfiltered web filter boasts over 450 million sites and 140 categories. Go over to untangle.com/LAS and get a calorie light Linux distro that's meant to run as a firewall. That's what I love about it. Is it's one of those you just set it and forget it. Untangle.com/LAS. And thanks to those guys for sponsoring /Etsy. And thanks to you guys for supporting our sponsors. All right, so let's talk about Zorin OS. They got a different approach over at Zorin OS. Yes, it is based on Ubuntu 13.04, at least version number 7 is. And a lot of you might just stop right there. But I think if you're the right type of person, the right targeted audience for this, it could be a good fit. Zorin OS is trying to position itself as an alternative for disenfranchised Windows 7 users who don't want to upgrade to Windows 8 or Mac users who don't like the direction of Mac OS 10. So think of it in that context. You're a user, you're trying to make a transition over to a new operating system. You've heard about this Linux thing. You know Ubuntu's out there, but like recently, I'm reminded of Mr. Leo Laporte over at the Twit Network. You probably heard of him. He tried out Ubuntu for a little, I think like a week or so. And his initial impression was Unity was not good. He didn't like the design metaphor. He didn't like the way it worked at all. And he was sort of off-put by it. It wasn't a good experience for him. I think maybe something like Zorin OS would be a little bit smoother of a transition, especially if you're familiar with the Windows 7 UI. I've got it loaded in VirtualBox here, and I thought I'd show it to you. So the basic desktop for you audio listeners looks very modern. One of the things that's strikingly different about Zorin OS 7 is they have a bar along the bottom. And that bar includes a very familiar start button, or Zorin menu. It looks a lot like the Windows 7 start menu. It's even got on the right-hand side your home folder, documents, pictures, music, videos, recent items, computer, network, connect to, the power, log off, everything, just like in Windows 7. And I'm actually kind of okay with this. If you think about the Windows 7 start menu just as like a launcher for your desktop, like if you were going to install any old launcher, it's actually not bad, right? It's got built-in search. It can search the contents of documents. It can even go several layers deep into control panel applets. It can be an application launcher, and it's pretty quick. All in all, the Windows 7 launcher is one of the better ones out there. Of course, they had to trash it in Windows 8, but Zorin OS is bringing it back here. And it even has the same search-like capabilities. The other thing, of course, that's striking about Zorin OS is that bar along the bottom. And you eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that it is, in fact, Avant Window Navigator. And one of the cool things about it is as it loads in, it sort of symbolizes loading the desktop. It builds itself and has a very cool effect. It's very modern looking as it comes in. And I'm actually really impressed with the way Avant Window Navigator has been set up here. But that's not their only secret sauce. Zorin OS also includes some Zorin utilities. Now, they seem to list more on their website than are actually shipping in Zorin OS 7. I'm wondering if some of those were in 6 and didn't make it over to 7. But 2 that I do see installed by default, the Zorin Web Browser Manager and the Zorin Look Changer. Let's start at the Look Changer because I think this is kind of interesting. If we bring it up, they give you 3 options. Now, in their website, they show more options, but right now in the current version we see 3, but there's 3 pretty good ones. You've got Windows 7, Windows XP, and GNOME 2. Now, if we're looking at this through the disenfranchised Windows user's perspective, that's kind of neat. You could probably see some people that are on XP now who don't want to go to 8. So if I hit Windows XP, the UI will dynamically rechange itself to look, honestly, like a little bit like last generation. The bar at the bottom is much more flat. It loses its transparencies. But we could even go crazier. If you're a diehard GNOME 2 user, there's a GNOME 2 button. When you hit that, it gives you the 2-panel approach with your menu along the top, your application switcher at the bottom, just like good old GNOME 2. I actually like their quote-unquote Windows 7 style because I think it actually looks pretty good. The overall look and theme of Zorin OS is okay. It's a little light on the contrast, so some things kind of blend together, but all in all, it's pretty nice. And one other tool that they include, and see, I can just use their built-in search here if I just search for Zorin, is the Zorin Browser Manager. This might ring a bell if you've heard of, I think Microsoft calls it their browser ballot. They had to ship it in the EU. I don't actually even think it shipped in the US, where the user gets to choose what browser they want. Well, that's kind of what Zorin OS is doing here. Now, by default, Zorin OS includes Chrome. Not Chromium, Chrome. But you're just one click away from changing that to anything you want. Now, when you launch this, it asks for your root password, so I don't even have to worry about putting in my password. I was able to just click Midori, and then Midori installed and was set as the default automatically. It gives you a little description about what that browser is. Now, if you think about this from a user's perspective, like take my wife. My wife is a Firefox user. If she sat down and saw I was using Chromium, one of the very first things she'd want to do is switch that over to Firefox. For a lot of us, probably almost everyone in the audience of the Linux Action Show, that is a pretty straightforward task. Because not only does Zorin OS include the Ubuntu Software Center, it also includes Synaptic, and it points to all of the Ubuntu software repos. So obviously Firefox is available, but she would have no idea how to actually install it. Having something that looks like a browser ballot screen where you just click one button and it loads Firefox and then sets that as your default, that's actually pretty nice for a Mac or Windows refugee. So I give them props for that. I think they've done a lot of little things like that that make it a little easier, just a little bit easier for that transition. Anytime you can shave down some of the rough edges for a newbie who's coming over, I think that's a win. At the end of the day, it's Ubuntu 13.04. I mean, it has like, you know, all of the system settings areas. You go in there and, you know, it's the same old Ubuntu system settings that you've seen forever, which is nice. I mean, it's functional. They've got all the stuff you expect. In fact, if you even go into details, it even says that, you know, you're running Ubuntu 13.04. Now, for some of us, that's great for application compatibility. And it's also easy to pitch it to a new switcher. You say, oh, yeah, you've heard of Ubuntu? You might not like what they're doing with Unity. Let me show you this Zorin OS thing. They're making it a little easier for you Windows XP and Windows 7 users. Or for those of you who just like this particular look. Honestly, if this Zorin OS represents what you spend the bulk of your time configuring after you get Ubuntu installed, that's another reason to look at it there. I think mostly, though, this is probably the distribution for switchers. And I think we're going to have a lot more of those as Microsoft continues to go down the path they're going with Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. So maybe Zorin OS will get even more popular. But for now, I think it's probably targeted at the switchers, but it's worth a look, especially if you're an Ubuntu fan. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But, Matt,
Yes?
before we get out of here, I thought we'd cover some emails.
All right.
First of all, we got an instant update from our chat room. I did not even know about this. Rasplex. The Plex home theater port for the Raspberry Pi.
That's so cool, right?
Rasplex. Kind of freaking awesome.
Well, it's a
gotta
great
check
looking
this out.
website. It gives you all the reasons why you care.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
awesome.
think this is really slick.
It's like step one, step two, step three.
Gonna be playing with that.
Definitely.
Not gonna lie. Didn't know about that before the show. Kind of good because I didn't really have time to check it out,
Right.
but now I do, so I will be checking that
Score.
out. Don't forget, too, you want your screenshot submission, so email a screenshot with the description of your specs, your desktop, your theme packs, all that stuff, so that way people can be, if they get inspired from your screenshot, they can kind of replicate some of it.
Right.
Email those to screenshot@jupiterbroadcasting.com or use the submission form embedded in the show notes for this episode, or start a thread in our subreddit. Just make sure you label it properly.
That's right. We'll be looking for 'em.
All right. First email comes from Icarus. And Icarus writes in, hey guys, I've been a fan of Last and TechSnap for the last year and just thought I'd share this little gem from my coworker, Raspberry Pi Colocation.com. It's free, a free Raspberry Pi colocation service. You ship them your Pi, or you can actually just buy one through them, and they will host it at their data center for free. This is a great thing,
Awesome.
and they run all Linux.
That's so cool.
If you want a cheap VPN server or something like that, it's a great solution. Thanks,
That's
Icarus.
nice.
Between
I never would have thought of that.
between instantserver.io and this, there's some great NSA avoidance solutions out there.
No kidding. I smell game changers, folks. Just saying.
That's right. The internet response. All right. Israel C writes in, hey, guys, I thought I might bring this to your attention. Last, we talked about gaming on Linux, and I think it's the perfect opportunity to support LeadWorks or LeadWorks. What do you think?
I'm going to say LeadWorks. I think
Whatever.
Lead.
Whatever. They'll probably say it in the video I'm about to play. It doesn't. I don't even know why I bothered saying it out loud, just to embarrass myself, I guess. I think it's a perfect opportunity to support them. They're doing a Kickstarter project, and you know, Matt, you and I, we've talked about games. We've talked about people that want to bring a game to Linux.
A little bit.
These guys want to bring their catalog to Linux.
No.
Their catalog. And they're doing a Kickstarter.
So not just a game, but like a catalog of games.
I'm going to effing back this thing, too.
Okay.
I've already decided. I haven't done it. I meant to do it before the show, but I'm going to do it after the show. I'm going to play a little bit of their video because I think this is such a great
nice
idea.
Hi, I'm Josh Clint, the founder of LeadWorks Software. Linux is a solid and secure operating system that's perfect for games, but at this time, Windows remains the lead platform for PC gaming. We want to change that by putting the game development process right on Linux with LeadWorks for Linux. This will let you build and play games without ever leaving the Linux operating system. LeadWorks is a visual tool for building any kind of 3D game, including dungeon crawlers, first-person shooters, side-scrollers, as well as some games that just can't be classified.
Remember, when life gives you poop, fertilize your crops.
We want to put game development on Linux with LeadWorks for Linux. Our campaign has 3 goals. It's not enough just to export games to Linux. We want to put the game development process on Linux so you can build and play games without ever leaving the Linux operating system.
Oh, yeah.
We have a complete visual editor that handles all aspects of the game development process, and we're porting it to run natively on Linux. We're using GTK for the user interface, so our editor will look and feel like a native Linux application. Our second goal is to facilitate expansion of the Linux library of games and encourage the production of Linux-exclusive titles. The Linux community is pretty intelligent, and they have a lot of good programmers.
That's right.
We think by putting the appropriate tools in their hands, it will enable them to make great Linux games.
This is the part I like a lot, this next part. Listen to this.
LeadWorks is known for having great graphics. We want to push Linux graphics beyond anything that's ever been done. Linux is the perfect platform for AAA games because it has OpenGL performance faster than Windows or Mac.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking advantage of this performance with deferred lighting, hardware tessellation, and up to 32 times multi-sample anti-aliasing.
32. Oh, and then they talk a little bit about their Steam integration.
When Valve announced Steam was coming to
exciting, 'cause
Linux,
this
that was a
type
clear
of
sign.
stuff is so much bigger and more important than just merely porting a game.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
goes much deeper.
This is the tools and the
Right.
engines. And what I love is, and this could be kind of a big factor in Game Shop's decision-making process. He says there that because of the increased performance in OpenGL, now mind you, we've seen this from Valve,
Right.
we've heard this from Unity 3D, and now we're hearing this from LeadWorks.
This is really cool.
They're saying that Linux performs better than Windows. And because of that, these guys are saying, we're going to enable 32x anti-aliasing. We're going to have more lighting sources. We're going to have more shadows. We're going to take advantage of that superior operating
This
system.
was that stuff we were talking about last week, that differentiator to where it's like, oh, hey, I don't want to do this on Windows. I want to do this on Linux because it looks better. It's
And
more
here's
fun.
a reason why.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm really excited. I'm going to throw in behind that. We'll have a link to the Kickstarter.
That's awesome.
In the show notes. Thanks to Israel for sending that in. Last email of the day. We didn't get a chance to get to all emails, but we got to a few. Last email of the day from Paul. Hey, guys. Would you be up for licensing your shows under Creative Commons? Perhaps the non-commercial license. That way, people can distribute your shows as long as they give credit to you guys. Maybe you get a trademark for Jupiter Broadcasting. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That way, no one can create a network pretending to be you guys. That would be silly. Keep up the great work, Paul.
Yep.
I would like to see them try. The Jupiter Army would crush them.
That's true.
So, Paul, the Linux Action Show and all of the Jupiter Broadcasting shows are available under a Creative Commons share-alike license, and not even non-commercial at this point, because I figure if somebody wants to use a clip of our stuff in a news show or something like that, that's fine. So as long as you attribute to us, you share alike, so you make it available for free, and you link back to us, that's the attribute part. We're all
Seems
good.
reasonable.
Yeah. There you go, Paul. It's already done.
Nice.
We just don't make a huge deal about it, but it's there. I mention it from time to time. That way people know. If you want to remix our stuff or anything like that, there you go. Yep. All right, Matt, so that's just about all we got for this show. What can people find you doing throughout the week?
It's always datamation.com. Scroll down to open source. You can usually find my latest stuff there.
Datamation.com.
And as always, I'm on Facebook.
What?
Matt Hartley Public, I believe.
Facebook. I've not heard of this.
Facebookage.
I think you're on Google Plus too, right?
And all sorts of stuff.
Oh, and the Twitter.
And the Twitter. You can just find me all over the place. Just Google me. I'm there.
Yep. Ditz. We
I'm into
got
Googles.
links to both of our stuff in the show notes. I want to cover replacing Google Reader next week.
Yes.
So tune in. I think we'll have a topic on that because it's getting really close before Google shuts that down. So there are a few different RSS options available for Linux. We're going to try to give you the best one to replace Google Reader next weekend.
Put that back out there. It's still time. If you guys want to do like an image of that for us.
Yeah. So what, Matt? We were talking about this on the live stream. By the way, Linux Action Show live, jblive.tv,
Yes.
Sundays, 10 a.m. You can join us and hang out with us. We talk with the chat room during the segments, segment breaks and stuff. And one of the things we brought up is we were looking to see if anybody would like to create an image for the Linux Action Show community of something for the Raspberry Pi running tiny RSS reader. If you're out there and you've got some skills and want to make an image for us, just email the show, linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting.com. We'll host it. We'll make it available via torrent. That way you don't have to spend the bandwidth on it. But it'd be so awesome because there's a lot of dependencies to get tiny RSS working on the Pi. If anybody out there has it or anybody wants to create an image, we would love to make it available to the community to give folks a way to replace Google Reader with a dedicated Raspberry Pi appliance. So send that into linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting. Also your screenshots, screenshot at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Should be a good episode.
Good
next
stuff. Looking forward to it.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Yeah, well, I feel like Apple put me in a position where, like, they're like, here's what you're gonna get, and we don't care if, sure, you have thousands of dollars invested in PCI Express cards, and only our last revision of the Mac Pro introduced PCI Express, and an industry just propped up around that. They're battle tested, and Thunderbolt hasn't been proven yet in the field, but that's okay. And
well, the same group of people said, "Oh, optical drives, they're so 1990s."
The Thunderbolt cable alone is $50. The captured box, which I would need 3 of, is $300 just to go Thunderbolt, and I get 0 performance increase for Thunderbolt capture.
Yeah.
I get no benefit from that, except for now I have these external boxes that have external power bricks that take up more power slots.
You get to fund a self-greedy ecosystem of narcissists that want to make you buy stuff you don't want.
Still recommends Windows, and now our business is failing because of it. What?
That old mobile thing, that's a fad.
Yeah.
It's a fad.
Yeah.
We're going to make cheap, crappy desktops, and people are going to buy them.
Checking wax. See if we got wax on. Do we have wax on over? Yep, we got wax. We got wax, man. We got wax. We got wax. Hey Matt. We got wax. We got wax, man.